ho, ho, ho. Yeah, woo! Woo! What's up, you guys? Forrest here with the FoCo Flow Show, and today is new bike day. Just picked up the brand new Revel Ranger, as I've been looking for a down country bike to complement the Ibis Ritmo V2 that I've been running for about a year and a half, looking for something that's lighter and faster, but still almost as capable as that Ritmo. So we're going to give you an overview of the bike. I'm going to give you my likes and my dislikes and final thoughts as I've been on the bike for a couple of weeks at this point. So without further ado, let's get out there and find that flow. So if you're anything like me, you are always on the lookout for the next option to add to the bicycle fleet. Of course, there are many really good bikes out there. It can be your sort of one bike, do it all. And I'll be honest, the Ibis Ritmo V2 is pretty darn close to that. But it's a big bike at 160 millimeters of travel in the front and 147 in the rear. And the more and more I read about this sort of XC but trail bike geometry category they call down country, the more and more I was thinking this would be an awesome bike to add to the fleet. Just a reminder, my main bike is that Ibis Ritmo V2. I currently have the steel hardtail, the Marin Elroy, as well as a fat bike I ride from time to time. But I was really thinking that for a lot of the XC and flow style stuff that I ride here in Charlottesville, a down country bike might be the absolute best option. So upon research and a lot of conversations with the local bike shops, and then the thing that pushed me over the edge for this Revel Ranger was around the September timeframe. They put all of their bikes that were in stock 20% off. So I opted and looked at and read around, and finally, after doing tons of research, pulled the trigger on the GX build. So as we look at the bike, we see that it's a full carbon frame from the guys at Revel. They're based in Boulder, Colorado, and they hire the guys from Canefield to build the CBF suspension. So as you can see, it's a higher end suspension design, and I'm fond of those, like the DW link that you have on the Ibis Ritmo. And basically what they are promoting is a suspension that, while has shorter travel, feels bottomless most of the time and can take more of the technical trail features than what the travel length would suggest. So the Ranger comes with 120 millimeters of front fork travel with the RockShox Sid Select is the option that I went with, and 115 millimeters of RockShox Sid Select Lux in the back. So not a ton of travel, but again, that CBF suspension design is supposed to take up a ton of the abuse from that shorter travel bike. And then we look at the geometry of the bike, and you see that it has a trail designed head tube angle as well as seat tube angle, slightly more aggressive stance with handlebars, as well as the overall rake of the bike. This build, I opted for that GX build, like I said, so we get Eagle GX 10 by 52 rear cassette. GX is tried and true and works really great. Got the G2 brakes, a Highline dropper post, and the things that I liked the most about this bike and the build kit was the Aragon saddle, as well as the i9 Crank Brothers Synthesis 2.0 trail wheels. So you've got the high engagement, not full Hydra hubs, but the i9 101s that does still have really good engagement every 4 degrees. And then the Crank Brothers Synthesis wheels that are supposed to be trail capable with medium weight. So overall, with the entire build, the way that we spec'd it out, I don't put any cush core in the tires. It's got a Dissector 2.4 in the front, as well as a Recon 2.4 in the rear with the regular casing. The bike clocks in at 28.5 pounds without pedals on it, which makes it super light compared to the Ibis Ritmo. And then you also have the opportunity at some point to make it even lighter with some higher end specs, as well as possibly carbon wheels one day. So now let's get into the things that I liked about the bike.
Loose, steep, first test. Oh, yeah. Woo.
So now that I got a handful of rides on the bike, I can confidently say that the best thing about this bike is even though it is lighter and it's a cross-country trail geometry style bike, it punches well above its weight. I've taken it off of drops, I've taken it down the low hill, long downhill, and it has been able to eat up everything that I've thrown at it without any harsh bottom outs. Now, I will be honest, I do find myself picking my lines a little bit more carefully, but on the drops and the rocks and the tech that I find in Charlottesville, I have not found it needing anything more for 99% of what I ride. Again, a little bit of a different line choice, but overall, no harsh bottom outs, and I can keep going. And again, as I said, one of my favorite things is it's light, it is fast. You can get up and climb and mash up those hills, and the bike responds instantaneously. It almost makes climbing as much fun as the downhill. I can't just rave enough about how light and nimble and fast the bike feels. Every pedal stroke feels like you're just pushing a little bit less bike up the hill compared to that Ibis Ritmo where you are bombing down the mountain without a line choice if you don't need it, but you definitely feel it and earn it on the way coming back up. Again, I also really like those intentional build specs. Like I talked about, the Aragon saddle and the i9 101 wheels are probably the standouts for me. GX is fine, but overall, I really enjoy the build spec for the price, which clocked in just under $5,000 for the GX build with the 20% off coupon. Overall, the bike is capable, it's stable, and the trail geometry makes it not feel like a race bike, but for SM100 next year, I can promise you this is the bike that I'll be riding over the Ibis Ritmo. So as you can tell, there's not a whole lot about this bike that I don't like so far. I will say the one thing I would change if I had the chance to do right now would be the G2 brakes. They're okay, but the modulation is so severe and it took so much fiddling just to get it so that it would bite when I needed it to, just to do a basic stop turn or without having to lock up the brakes completely. I prefer Shimano, so that's probably personal preference. I've played with it a little bit and overall I've got it to be in a manageable place, but frankly, I just have better preferences for different types of brakes. I would go with my Magura MT5s that I've got on the hardtail or the SLX brakes any day of the week. The other thing that I don't really love is the Highline Crank Brothers dropper post. It's slow, it's not as responsive, the lever doesn't feel as good as the bike yoke of the Ritmo or the transfer dropper with a wolf tooth lever like I was running on my Ritmo V1. Again, these are components, they can be swapped out, and they will be swapped out as I upgrade the Revel Ranger. So a couple of small nitpicky things. As far as ride quality, the suspension is super fast and super responsive. It takes some getting used to. Far from a negative, it's just something to get used to compared to the Ritmo. And like I said, you can't bomb it down the chunkiest stuff that you have in your local steep trail systems and send it off 10-foot rock drops unless you've got the type of ride skills that can mitigate the harsh hits and rocks that you might find maybe out in the steepest parts of the George Washington National Forest. It's definitely not your bike park bike. So again, it's good to know what type of bike we're talking about here, but a bike like this with the down country geometry is going to be closer to your do-everything bike than maybe the Ibis Ritmo or something comparable to it for what most riders are looking for. So as we talk about the overall experience on the bike, one of the best ways to do that is to take it down a ride segment that you have done a million times before. As everyone who follows this channel knows, that's the O-hill long downhill for me, and to see how it shakes out. So I'll take you to a clip where I took it down the long downhill, maybe my second ride on the bike. I probably needed to do it again because I didn't set any PRs on that run, but I've done that run 1,000 times. So let's give it a check out and see how it goes.
Right here. Here we go. I can usually chunk this in the Ritmo. Here's that. Heads up, coming in hot. Stay straight. Right here. Oh, I had it. Ooh, that's rocked. Back on the gas. Good here. Good, it's just a little. All right. Oh, it's a little bouncy. There we go. Looking ahead. Ooh, that's really chunks. On the gas. On the gas. So where we can pick up speed. All right, that's Poppy. Yeah. Good. All right. Here we go. Yeah.
So as you can see, pushed it to the limits. Didn't set a PR right there, about a minute 39 versus a minute 30. I think if we do it a little bit more, find the limits of the bike and when I can push it through, I definitely felt myself backing off in some of the chunkiest sections where the Ritmo can just soak it all up. That's a small contingency and something to get used to, but overall the ride experience is fantastic. You know, I considered a few other bikes in the category. I looked at the Top Fuel from Trek. I looked at the Transition Spur, and all of those were great bikes with great feedback, but I'm gonna be completely honest. I had been reading about the Revel Ranger for a long time, and then when it went on sale and I was at the right place at the right time, definitely decided to take advantage of that opportunity versus waiting around and trying to demo 100,000 bikes before I make a decision. So again, I don't necessarily recommend doing that, but I'm happy to say that it's definitely the best choice that I could have made for the money at the time. So looking ahead, the only thing I've done to the bike thus far is put the Trail 1 carbon handlebars on the bike instead of the aluminum ones that came with it. Those feel great. 20% off coupon, got those upgraded to about $100. And at some point, I'm definitely gonna put carbon wheels with i9 hubs, the Hydra hub on the bike to get the best engagement and the lightest rolling that you can possibly find. So in summation, the bike is fantastic. I can't rave about it enough. I am just blown away how capable the bike is for the travel that it has. I strongly recommend it if you're in the market for a downcountry, fully capable trail bike that you also want to take in the mountains for that SM100, 70, 80, 90, 100 mile race that you want to do and survive. Reminder, I'm not a racer. I don't try to win on podiums. I just get out into the mountains and try to be as efficient as I can to make it up the mountain, to make it down the mountain. I'll be completely honest, when I'm going to the steepest, chunkiest stuff in the George Washington or out to Pisgah, my Ritmo is probably still the bike I'm taking, but for the other 80-90% of the bike stuff that I like to ride in Charlottesville and some of the other areas, it's gonna be the Ranger. And that's an interesting development after riding a bike like the Ritmo for as long as I have. So, as we finish out, let me know in the comments below, what other bike would you look like in this downcountry category? Is there something that's in between the Ritmo and something like the Revel Ranger that you would recommend as a one bike do-it-all quiver killer? For me, I'm fortunate to have a couple of really nice bikes, very blessed, and some of that comes from the support of you guys on the channel. So I can't thank you enough for supporting, liking, subscribing, comment below. Love to hear all the options out there so we can all get out there and find that flow.